Hi and welcome to another video. This is a little bit of a different video and I'm going to show you my thought process on how to design a game. There are a lot of ways to do this, so if you have any suggestions or want anything added, leave a comment below and I will look into it. If I like it, I will probably change it and I will upload a new video. Keep in mind that this is simplified. So the first thing I decide is what type of game do I want to create. Is it a strategy game, maybe an RPG or a platform game? And then you move on to what kind of view. Do you want it to be top-down, maybe 3D, or maybe side view like a platform game, or isometric? Then you need to think, what functions do your game need? Maybe you need to check for collisions, or maybe you need to store data for high scores and positions for buildings, etc. And then if you can create all of this, go ahead and move on. If you do not know how to do this, maybe you can't save data and such, then you need to think, can your game function without it? If it does work without it, you can also move on, because if you can't solve it now or later, it doesn't really matter because your game will still work. But if your game won't work without it, then you should try and create it by yourself first. Now this might not be easy if it's something completely new, like handling databases. But maybe if it's something a bit harder, like for example you know how to move an object and you want to move it to a certain position by avoiding maybe walls. So then you will have to find an algorithm for that and figure out how to do it. And you should probably try and do it by yourself first, because you will learn a lot more of it if you actually succeed. And even if you fail, you will learn something new probably. And if you did solve it and you know how to make all the functions for your game, go ahead and move on. If you did not, then ask around and search the web, and someone probably has the same problems as you and maybe they solved it and you might be able to get help. If you did solve it, move on. If you did not, and if you can't solve it by your own or with help, then you probably should go ahead and think of something else, because if you are already over here, then your game won't function without the method, and if you can't create a method, then there's no need to do everything else. But however, if you know how to do it now, then you go ahead and think of what resolution and orientation do you need. You probably want a somewhat high resolution, like 1280 by 720, as I have in my game currently, and it fits perfect on my Galaxy S4. And then you need to figure out the orientation. Do you want it to be in landscape like this, tilted, or do you want it to be standing up in portrait view? And after you have done that, you need to start writing down all of the objects you will need for your game. For example, for my game I needed, this is just some of the classes, I needed a farm, a house, a barrack for soldiers, and a main class. So go ahead and write down every object you can think of, and the more you have now, the more you want that later, and you probably will not have as much problems. Just try and get every object you need at this stage, because if you add objects later on, they might clash, or maybe you have to design your HUD over again because you added another menu or something like that. So try and think of as many objects as you can. And you should give a brief description of what they all do. For example, my farm provides wheat to the city yearly at July. And my main activity holds all the main methods that I need from a game, and it contains constants. For example, the next step I do is I design my HUD, and you need to keep in mind of ads. Sadly, I have not done this for my game yet with ads, but I will do it. This is how my HUD looks at the moment, and it should probably be the same size as your resolution. For example, mine is 1280 by 720. So go ahead and design your HUD, and if you want ads, for example at the bottom of the screen, you might want to leave some space open, like take away this or something like that. Otherwise your HUD can look a bit scaled down and maybe not as pretty as you want it to be. And then the next step is to actually create the objects you need. For example, you need to figure out exactly all the things all of your objects need. For example, my farm needs to get updated every month. And I do this by calling a timer inside my main class that updates every object on the screen. like once every second, and then it checks if the current month is July. If it is, it will provide wheat to a nearby silo, and yeah. Just create everything you need and make sure your game can run. After you have a complete game, next step is to check for bugs. Check for as many bugs as you can find and try and solve them all before you release it. And I would actually recommend you to release it as beta first, maybe to a couple of persons you know or something like that, so they can try the game and give input on if they like it or not and what they don't like. And they will probably find some bugs too that might crash the game, and you do not want that when you actually release the game fully. And when you have fixed all the bugs you can think of and others have found, just go ahead and release the game. And so I hope you liked this video. It was just a brief description on what I do when I design a game. If you have anything you want to add to it, just leave a comment below and I will check it and maybe make a new video. So that was all for this video. Thank you a lot for watching. If you liked my videos, please subscribe to the channel and give the videos a thumbs up, and maybe even share it. It would really help a lot. So thank you and bye bye.